morning again. Vice Chair, board members, interim CEO, staff, and members of the public. I would just remind everyone to please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. And if you're a presenter, speak directly into the microphone. The microphones have been adjusted to be very sensitive, including the surrounding microphones. So during the presentations, please be silent to avoid background interference. Thank you for your cooperation. And Vice Chair, there are no members of the public wishing to provide comments. As such, we will proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting held on Thursday, January 26, 2023. Do I have a
So moved, Gavin.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair. All in favor?
Aye.
All, none opposed. Thank you very much. Vice Chair, would you like to provide any remarks?
Yes, I will. Good morning, everyone. Presiding as the chair for the first time, I'll simply say this. Progress is not easy, and it's certainly not swift. But I'll give you my best efforts so that we may attain the goal, our mutual goal, and hopefully have fun along the way. Have a good day. Thanks in advance.
Thank you. Interim CEO, would you like to provide any remarks?
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Chair Gonzalez. We appreciate your leadership. And I just wanted to first say good morning to everyone. And second, provide the board just an update on some of the accomplishments we've had in 2022. I know that our board meeting last month was a little full, so we're getting to this now. One of the biggest accomplishments we had in 2022 was the passing of the New York City Public Housing Preservation Trust, which will deliver repairs to 25,000 NYCHA families through an innovative 100% public model after residents begin to vote in 2023. We also secured $350 million in state capital funding, benefiting NYCHA residents across the 5 boroughs. We launched the Capital Projects Tracker in spring of 2022, bringing full transparency and insight into NYCHA's capital programs. On the operations side, we launched work order reform across all 5 boroughs, bringing streamlined repairs, improved communications, and enhanced services to NYCHA residents across the city. We also made significant progress on lead abatement, including abatements at over 1,500 apartments at the lower 0.5 threshold. We completed the ventilation program to install thousands of new roof fans at NYCHA developments, and completed more than 80 replacement boilers, surpassing the HUD agreement requirement of 70 boilers by the end of 2022. We streamlined supervision of pest work so that all exterminators report to the pest management department under the neighborhood model. We issued over 5,700 emergency housing vouchers to ensure housing insecure families have the assistance they need to afford rent. We also implemented a supplier risk management and vendor screening tool to assess vendor responsibility. And finally, with respect to ERAP, we sent each state legislature information on rent arrears in their districts. I am super hopeful about the work that we have done and have been underway already in 2023, and the continued work that we're going to do for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the calendared items 1 through 21. Item 1, please, sir.
Good morning, esteemed board members and fellow colleagues. My name is Digzer Abreu. I serve as the Deputy Director of Environmental Planning within Sustainability and Asset and Capital Management. It is my privilege to present a request for your authorization to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the New York City Housing Preservation and Development, so that the New York City Housing Preservation and Development can serve as NYCHA's responsible entity in the place of HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. As per 24 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 58, also known as the National Environmental Policy Act and Federal Procedure for Environmental Review. In this third iteration of the Memorandum of Understanding, the Asset and Capital Management is requesting a not to exceed total amount of $1,753,860 for the duration of 5 years, starting in 2023 and ending in 2027. During these 5 years, the not to exceed amount will be used to hire 2 city employees at the New York City Housing Preservation and Development. The 2 roles are 1, an environmental planner, and 2, a deputy director of environmental planning. The two roles will guarantee the hires ensure that NYCHA's federal environmental reviews are compliant with the Federal National Environmental Policy Act and also are compliant under the jurisdiction of New York City. At this time, I will take any questions.
There appears to be no questions. I just wanted to add that the MOU actually commenced on November 12, 2022, and this is actually a ratification item. Thank you, Dixon. Item 2. Thank you, Dixon. Item 2, Liza.
Good morning, board members. My name is Liza Dam, and I am the Deputy Director for Transactions in the Real Estate Development Department. Today, I will be presenting a board resolution relating to the PACT conversion at Edenwald. The PACT conversion at Edenwald was first presented to the board in connection with initial applications made to HUD in October 2021. We are now coming back to the board to request authorization to seek HUD approvals, enter into documents necessary to close on the PACT conversion at Edenwald later this spring or early summer. As you know, through the PACT program, NYCHA seeks to convert developments from Section 9 funding to a more stable source of federal funding, project-based Section 8. We do this using HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, known as RAD, and by partnering with a team of private and nonprofit developers, general contractors, property managers, and social service providers. Today, we are requesting authorization to enter into the PACT conversion at Edenwald, which is a NYCHA development in the Bronx totaling just over 2,000 units. Some additional details about the property and a map are being shown along with this presentation. I will now provide some background on this PACT project, and please refer to the board resolution materials for any additional information. The NYCHA PACT Partners 2020 project request for expression of interest, or the RFEI, was released in November 2020 for the PACT conversion of 3 projects in the Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn, comprising 17 public housing developments. Proposals were due February 28, 2021, and a total of 11 submissions were received for all 3 projects. Edenwald was one of the 3 projects included in the RFEI, and NYCHA received 4 proposals in response to the RFEI. We will be coming to the board later this spring to seek similar authorization with respect to the other 2 projects that were part of this RFEI. The authority conditionally selected a PAC partner team on December 16, 2021, after a competitive evaluation of proposals in response to the authority's RFEI for this transaction. And the PAC partner is made up of the following groups: a developer team comprised of Camber Property Group LLC, Henge Development LLC, Stewart Alexander and Associates Inc., and MBD Community Housing Corporation. I would note that Stewart Alexander and Associates Incorporated is a minority-owned business, and Henge is currently applying for New York State Women-Owned Business certification. MBD is a nonprofit organization. CNC Apartment Management will serve as the property manager, L&M Builders Group will be the general contractor, and Catholic Charity Community Services, Archdiocese of New York, and Regional Aid for Interim Needs, or RAIN, will be the social service providers. HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into a housing assistant payment contract on January 11, 2022, which was subsequently amended on January 18, 2022. At closing, NYCHA and the PAC partner will enter into a housing assistant payment contract, or HAP contract. The authority's lease housing department will administer this HAP contract. Prior to RAD conversion, HUD requires the authority to submit an initial application. And this application was authorized by Board Resolution 21-10/27-17. I would note that the transaction remains subject to HUD's RAD and Section 18 approvals, which will be required prior to transaction closing. The New York City Deputy Mayor of Housing and Economic Development issued a letter of support for the transaction on August 30th, 2021. Regarding the transaction's financing details, recapitalizing and rehabilitating Edenwald is anticipated to cost approximately $920 million. HDC will, or the New York City Housing Development Corporation, will oversee the financing of the transaction, which is anticipated to include a permanent loan, which will be issued or arranged by HDC. The authority intends to issue a purchase money note and mortgages as well. NYCHA will rely on HDC's sponsor review process in lieu of an independent vendor name check. And HDC's sponsor review is in process and will be completed prior to closing. The final transaction budget is subject to approval by HDC and HUD and remains subject to change prior to transaction closing. Regarding the project's scope of work, a capital needs assessment, or CNA, will be completed. The CNA assesses current needs and serves as an update on the content in NYCHA's physical needs assessment, or PNA. NYCHA will approve the scope of work and confirm that it addresses all items in both the PNA and CNA. And the scope of work will be finalized before closing and will be presented to residents before construction starts. The scope of work generally includes work addressing needs in interior units, hallways, lobbies, mechanical systems, building facades, and other items. As part of this transaction, NYCHA and the other parties to the PAC conversion will enter into a series of documents which are listed in greater detail in the board materials. Edenwald residents will benefit from HUD's RAD resident protections and affordability restrictions and have the same basic rights as they do under the public housing program. Under PAC, residents will benefit from substantial physical preservation of their units, common areas, building envelope and systems, and grounds. Dedicated property management staff assigned to the development. Increased delivery of needs-based social services, whereby social service providers, working with property managers and NYCHA, will work to support households in maintaining lease compliance, including assistance for those requiring eviction prevention services, or including eviction prevention services even if such needs were not identified specifically by residents during the needs assessment survey. No permanent displacement, but upon resident request, residents may be temporarily relocated within the project site for reasonable accommodation purposes. Residents may also be temporarily relocated to existing vacant units on the site due to the sensitive nature of the environmental hazard abatement required for some units. All residents in the project-based voucher HAP will continue to pay no more than 30% of their adjusted gross income toward rent. And if a family is not currently paying rent at this level, they will be phased into paying the appropriate rent amount for their household size and income. Residents will continue to have rights and protections consistent with what is provided under the public housing program. In terms of engaging with residents, the authority and the PAC partner have met with residents and will continue to engage with residents throughout the process via meetings and written notices. NYCHA and the PAC partner have held 10 meetings at the site since that designation in December 2021. During these meetings, residents are advised of their ability to access Legal Aid Society's hotline to discuss questions regarding the conversion. And in terms of hiring, the PAC partner has provided a hiring plan that outlines labor hours and training opportunities and other economic opportunities, the details of which are provided in the board materials. We are anticipating the PAC conversion taking place in the next few months and will work with our partners to ensure the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you very much, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, I do. Since we're moving in that direction, the agency is moving in that direction of converting many of the developments into the RAG Pack, Part 200, whatever means it is. I would think that you would get more than 4 people or agencies or companies to apply to be our partners. I would think they'd be jumping at the bits to come in and see us. Is it that they're finding the proposals not as attractive as they would like, or, I mean, give me your opinion as to why that number was so low.
We have a lot of developments out for proposal right now, and I think we've messaged to our partners that we have a lot of activity coming down the pike, and I think we're seeing our partners be more selective about what really works for them and fits within their skill set. I'm sure you notice our packed developments are a little bit smaller groups, it's not all these like mega bundles, so we're seeing a lot more interest from different partners than we've seen before, but also they know that if they pass on this one, there's probably another one coming up, so, we don't tell them what's coming down the pipeline, but like, just based on what's been happening and all the activity, they know that they can wait and maybe find something that would be a perfect fit for them.
One last thing. In these proposals, do little guys get a chance to get in on this action? And when I say little guys, I mean companies that are not as known or are as large or have the capacity to, I'm talking about smaller guys in the industries. Are we opening it up for them as well?
It's always been open to everyone, but I think it's been hard for some of those smaller entities to be a good fit with our projects, given the size. So I think the fact that we're breaking everything up into smaller projects and smaller unit sizes we've been able to be responsive to the feedback that we heard, that we wanted to really have this be an opportunity for, affordable housing developers throughout the city to grow, not just the big names. So, and we're seeing that, we're getting a lot more varied interest, we have new partners. I think it's been successful.
I remember in the beginning, the little guys would have to join in with a bigger guy in order to get in. So I'm saying, is there a possibility in the future for a small guy to get in
Just a
on his own?
I think so. I mean, I think part of also why some smaller partners would tend to partner with groups that have already worked on PACT before is because PACT is very complex. There's a lot of requirements, HQS is very difficult, and I think they like having that expertise to rely on. We see different partnership splits, I think that's maybe where you see that, where you'd have the smaller partners getting a much larger share of the pie, but you're still having a bigger partner there kind of on the side just to provide some support. So rather than them being the leading player, I think we're seeing some different structures come through, which has been great. And, having that partnership means they build their basis and then the next time they can go on and maybe apply on their own or bring in another new partner. It's kind of a little bit iterative and builds on each other.
I'm very glad that those considerations are being taken.
Yes, no, we
Thank you.
received that feedback, we've made some adjustments, and I think we're definitely seeing the results of that, so, yeah. It's been an active year so far with our FEI activities, so, yes.
I assume the goal is still 60,000 units?
Yes,
So we're about 60%, which is great in progress. And from my point of view, we've just learned so much and you've enhanced the process so much. So thank you for that. But also thank you for being 60% of the goal. Oh, that's great.
we are working hard,
Thank you, thank you.
so, to make it happen, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Liza.
you, Jackie.
Item 3, Howard.
Good morning, my name is Howard Coleman. I'm Deputy Director and Assistant Chief of the Law Department's Labor and Employee Relations Division. I am presenting item number 3 on behalf of David Rhodey, Interim Executive Vice President for Legal Affairs and General Counsel. The Labor and Employee Relation Division's work includes preparing employee disciplinary charges based on New York Civil Service Law Section 75. These disciplinary charges range from unsatisfactory time and attendance or work performance to workplace violence. The charges provide the employee with an opportunity to appear at a disciplinary hearing before a trial officer. On behalf of the Law Department, I'm requesting the board's authorization to amend Board Resolution number 75-4/23-1 to revise Section 4A to remove Bonnie Mussman, Christina Granilla Ross, Naomi Schreiner, and Robert A. Stranieri, and add Anne Gale, Joseph Fan, Patricia Jean-Pierre, David Alung, and Michael Perner as trial officers. Are there any questions?
Yes. I don't know if it's in the resolution, I may have missed it, so I may be asking a question that's already there. But these particular trial officers, are they there for a set amount of terms? Or are they reappointed or appointed at the wish of the gov, whoever it is that puts them there? Is there term limits, is there a term? Or are they just removed at will?
Well, there is a one-year term. We renew yearly. And of course, it is bilateral. They can refuse to continue to serve, and we also can refuse to renew them.
Thank you.
Great. No further questions. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
Item 4, Adam.
Sorry.
Anxious.
Good morning, board members, good morning, colleagues. My name is Adam Shukri, I'm the Director of the Revenue and Receivables Department. Presenting item number 4, which is requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with JP Morgan Bank for the monthly rent billing and remittance processing of rent payments from residential and commercial tenants. The agreement is for an initial term of 3 years and 2 one-year renewal options at the authority's sole discretion. The total value of the contract for the 5 years is not to exceed $10,509,512. This is a per unit cost, so the payment will depend on the number of items being processed by the vendor. Under this agreement, JP Morgan will provide the following services. It's the printing and mailing of the monthly rent bills to our residential and commercial tenants, electronic presentment of the rent bills, which is the e-bills, remains processing of payments received by mail at the lockbox, online payment, e-payment by debit, credit cards, and electronic checks, which is ACH, telephone payments. They also will accept and aggregate payments made by tenants through their own bank accounts and through licensed money transmitter, which is we refer to as the home banking. They will also provide customer service for tenants seeking assistance with the electronic payments, including passwords, lockout, and what have you. They will also be handling undelivered rent bills returned by the post office. JP Morgan has committed under the other economic opportunities to provide annual training to NYCHA residents. JP Morgan is expected to conduct 8 training sessions for approximately 1,120 residents on an annual basis throughout the term of the agreement. If there is any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
I have a question.
Sure.
So can you give us some details about the training that will be provided? What sort of training will they provide?
The training that they had committed to provide is such as basic banking, savings, budgeting, and investing. Some financial training.
Thank you. Do you think it's possible to get a commitment for them to hire NYCHA residents?
Well, unfortunately, the lockbox facility where they're gonna be processing, where all the processing is gonna be in Binghamton, New York. There is no facilities within the city. So the hiring will be done, they always have provided the website for residents and the opportunities to apply for any available position that they have. But we'll have some of those discussions with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I probably should know the answer to this, but this is just section 9, right? No, section 8.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
No, thank you, Anne. Okay, Sergio.
Good morning, board members. My name is Sergio Paneque, NYCHA's Chief Procurement Officer. I'll be presenting item number 5 for your consideration. Item number 5 seeks ratification of a contract capacity increase in the amount of $2,810,232.17 to the existing agreement with PDQ Supply Incorporated. This contract capacity increase will fund the continued purchase and delivery of appliance range parts during the remainder of the 3-year term, which commenced on January 7th of 2021 and will continue through January 6th of 2024. If approved by the board, the new not to exceed amount will be $3,743,154.56. The increase in utilization of the contract is attributable to adding an additional 159 part line items to the contract. The additional lines and related authorization permit the operations division with a more efficient to manage single source contract solution for the acquisition of appliance and range parts. Given this proposed contract is for goods, a section 3 plan is not required. Therefore, the Supply Management and Procurement Department respectfully recommends that the members approve this ratification. Are there any questions?
There are none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 6, Dan.
Good morning, board members. My name is Dan Green. I'm the Senior Vice President for Healthy Homes. I'm here today with one item, which is a request to modify a contract by increasing its capacity for the vendor Genesis Environmental Consultants, which performs project monitoring, air monitoring, and testing for asbestos-containing materials throughout our apartments and common areas. Genesis is a minority-owned contractor. They were approved through an emergency contract The original contract price was $747,298.80. And this change will increase the capacity, the actual amount of the amendment is $1.494,597.60. This is necessary to ensure that the contract is funded for the duration that was approved through the emergency contract. So we're seeking ratification of this increase of the contract amount.
A simple thing.
Yes.
Asbestos usually, let me rephrase that. When you deal with mold and asbestos, are they hand in hand? Or are they looked at very, very differently?
Very, very differently.
And so when they address one or the other, it's a separate entity, never done in conjunction with one another.
Well, no, so like, let's say the mold is on a ceiling that is a popcorn ceiling. So popcorn ceilings are potentially asbestos containing materials. They generally do not contain asbestos, but they have to be tested to clear them. So what you would do for that project is you would send in an investigator first. They would take samples of the area that needs to be remediated for mold. They would have those samples delivered to a lab. You would test it for asbestos. If it came back negative, then you would proceed with the mold project. And by and large, that's typically what happens. If the ceiling did test positive for asbestos, you would need to do the mold remediation under asbestos protocols, meaning the people who clean the asbestos would also have to be certified asbestos handlers. So they would probably, in that case, basically remove the entire popcorn layer from the ceiling, and then that would abate the mold. So
Now, I know you've answered this question before. I just want to be remembering if I have the same idea. What is the time frame from the time that either of those particular issues is discovered that it gets abated?
that's a longer conversation.
Okay, so
yeah.
let's.
Depends on, it's research, yeah, I mean, we can,
In the interest of saving time, I'll address it to Madam Secretary, put it in an email. And
Yeah,
then
we have all those SLAs
Okay.
we can provide to
All
you.
right.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
No other questions? Thank you, Dan. 7 and 8, Carrie.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Jew. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of the New York City Housing Authority. This morning I'm presenting Board Resolution Item Number 7. With this resolution, I'm requesting to ratify and be entering into an agreement with JSM Consulting, Inc. for general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services, which commenced on January 13th, 2023, and is continuing through January 12th, 2028. This includes an initial 3-year term and 2 one-year renewal options to be renewed automatically unless the authority in its sole discretion provides written notice of its intent not to renew prior to the expiration of the expiring term. JSM will provide the authority with general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services for the recruitment of temporary employees on an as-needed basis. As of February 14th, 2023, NYCHA has employed 57 temporary employees from JSM. The total not-to-exceed amount for the agreement is $25 million. By way of background, in 2018, the authority entered into 7 5-year agreements with 7 firms to provide staff augmentation services for a total not-to-exceed amount of $90 million. One of these 7 firms was JSM. The current agreement will expire on October 17th, 2023. Since the adoption of the 2018 agreement, unforeseen requests for business projects related to re-emerging regulatory requirements, critical business initiatives, and the authority's transformation plan have increased the need for additional temporary specialized resources and a more specialized workforce as provided by JSM. These temporary employees will be used when a specific skill set is required and existing authority staff cannot perform the work. On May 7th, 2021, the authority issued a request for proposals to provide the authority with staff augmentation services. The RFP was advertised in the City Record and on the authority's website. An evaluation committee comprised of representatives from IT, General Services, Human Resources, the Office of the CAO, and Procurement reviewed the proposals. Based on the ratings of the proposals by the RFP Evaluation Committee, the Administration Department recommends that the authority enter into this agreement for staff augmentation services with JSF. The approval to enter into this agreement prior to board approval was received by the Supply Management and Procurement Department from the Chief Procurement Officer on January 4th, 2023. A vendor name check dated September 1st, 2022 was vetted by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Department, which found no issue to preclude award. Therefore, I'm requesting your approval to ratify the entering into an agreement with JSM for staff augmentation services for 5 years, including 2 one-year renewal options for a total of $25 million. Any questions?
Proceed.
Now I will present Board Resolution Item Number 8. With this resolution, I am requesting to ratify a contract capacity increase to this agreement with Adeel Business Services, Inc. for general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services, which was originally authorized by Board Resolution 18-9/27-40 for a 5-year term to increase the total not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 5-year term, which commenced on November 18th, 2018, and is continuing through November 17th, 2023. The original contract not to exceed amount was $10,800,000. This contract capacity increase is for $5 million. The contract capacity increase is required to ensure the continued provision of services from temporary staff currently employed by the authority. The agreement provides the authority with general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services. These staff augmentation services are for the recruitment of temporary employees on an as-needed basis. The temporary employees are used when a specific skill set is required and existing authority staff cannot perform the work. Adeel provides the authority with a pool of qualified candidates to fill resources across multiple labor categories, including technical and IT resources, professional resources, and general administrative and clerical resources. Adeel has been a valued resource for the authority to hire temporary staff across a wide array of titles and departments and continues to provide essential staff augmentation services to the authority. The approval to issue this contract capacity increase to this agreement prior to board approval was received by the Supply Management and Procurement Department from the Chief Procurement Officer on November 30th, 2022. Therefore, I am requesting your approval to ratify a contract capacity increase to this agreement with Adeel for general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services for $5 million. Any questions?
Okay.
I have a question, and 2 questions actually. One you've answered before, but I think it's important to say out loud, why 5 million for 1 year when it's been 10.8 for 4 years?
So the contract capacity increase is just to give us the flexibility in order to go up to that amount, but obviously if we don't need to, we won't. So we just don't want to have to come back to the board to ask for additional resources. This particular vendor has provided temporary staff for a quite a significant period of time. As of February 14th, we have a total of 31 temporary employees who are employed by Adeel, and they staff 14 different departments. So it's important to maintain that continuity.
And the reason this is in hires versus labor hours, I can't remember why are they hires versus labor hours?
This is
In the,
because it
section
started
2.
before the change to
Oh,
labor
because it
hours.
started
This started in 2018.
So the 20 hires were over the course of the 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Alrighty, no other questions? Thank you, Carrie. Items 9 and 10.
members. My name is Keith Grossman, Senior Vice President of Operations Support Services. I'm here to present item number 9 and 10. First item, number 9, is for Horizon Engineering Associates. The new contract not to exceed $20 million. Under this agreement, Horizon prepares energy efficiency reports, EERs, consisting of the preparation of an energy audit and retro commissioning for assigned developments. Within the time frame, very emotional, sorry. Very excited about it. Within the time frame, I actually am, but it's within the time frame indicated in task orders and in accordance with this requirement set forth in the New York City Department of Buildings Rule 103-07. Local Law 87 of 2009 requires owners of residential, commercial, and mixed-use buildings with 50,000 or more gross square feet to submit an EER once every 10 years. Applicable buildings must undergo energy audit and deep retro commissioning measures to ensure that base building systems and equipment operate effectively to save energy and reduce waste without negatively affecting building operation. Non-compliance is subject to DOB violations, and failure to submit an EAR is a major Class 2 violation, which may result in a penalty of $3,000 in the first year and $5,000 for each additional year until the EER is submitted. On March 14th, 2022, the authority issued a request for a proposal to provide the authority with Local Law 87 services. The RFP number 334887 was advertised in the city record and on the authority's website. Prospective proposers were invited to attend a pre-submission conference on March 17th, 2022, and to submit questions concerning the RFP via email to the Supply Management and Procurement Department, or SMPD, by March 21st, 2022. Responses to questions asked by the prospective proposers during the pre-submission conference were available for viewing on March 24th, 2022 on iSupplier. Of the 4 proposals submitted, 1 proposal submitted by Safari New York Corp was deemed non-responsive for lack of required information in its cost proposal, as outlined in the authority's proposal documents. The remaining 3 proposals were evaluated by the RFP Evaluation Committee, utilizing the evaluation criteria below. The committee was comprised of 4 members from Asset and Capital Management, Sustainability and Energy Programs Department, Heating Management Services Department, and Procurement Operations. The committee reviewed and evaluated the 4 proposals submitted based on the following 4 criteria: scope of services, the consultant's personnel, technical studies, and cost proposal. The SMPD requested best and final offers from the remaining 3 proposers: Horizon Loring Consulting Engineers, Inc., and New York Building Systems Consultant, Inc. And the RFP evaluation reviewed the best and final offers for value and advantageous to the authority. Based on the ratings by the RFP Evaluation Committee, HMSD recommended that the authority enter into an agreement with Horizon for Local Law 87 services. The approval to enter into this agreement prior to board approval was received by the SMPD from the Chief Procurement Officer on November 4th, 2022, and this agreement was awarded on November 30th, 2022. The VNC dated September 27th, 2022 was vetted by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Department, which found no issue to preclude award. Therefore, we recommend that members approve such board resolution and permit the ratification of this agreement to be executed in accordance with the authority's bylaws, delegation record, and other applicable authority procedures and documents pursuant to the foregoing terms of this board resolution and such other terms and conditions as the general counsel or general counsel's designee deems appropriate. That was a long sentence. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I have more of a comment than a question. First of all, I want to thank Madam Secretary and yourself for breaking down what Local Law 87 is to a layman like myself And being that there's so many local laws that we have to contend with, every time something new pops up, I'm glad that you guys are explaining what it's for.
Absolutely.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure, thank you, sir, appreciate that.
Great. Proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 10. This is for MNK Enterprises LLC. It's minority-owned business, with a not to exceed amount of $1,818,350. This requirement contract provides for the installation and removal of wood scaffolding and barrier skirt systems. The scope of work includes but is not limited to furnishing of all labor, materials, tools, licenses, and permits necessary to perform the installation and removal of wood scaffolding and barrier skirt systems as required by the New York City Department of Buildings Code Chapter 33 and OSHA. There is a 20% variance between MNK's bid of $1,818,350 and the authority's cost estimate of $1,511,500. Which is attributed to the increase of current market conditions and material and labor costs. Based on this analysis, the Supply Management and Procurement Department, SMPD, found MNK's bid to be acceptable. The approval to award this requirement contract prior to board approval was received by the SMPD from the Chief Procurement Officer on November 14th, 2022. This requirement contract was awarded on December 14th, 2022. A vendor name check was valid at the time of award. A VNC dated July 28, 2022 was vetted by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Department, which found no issue to preclude award. The OIG, the Office of our Inspector General, agreed via email dated July 10, 2023 to extend the VNC's validity through February 28, 2023 to facilitate the board's approval. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So, I know that we get charged, I guess, by the city when it comes to scaffolding, while we either when we install it.
Yeah.
Now, do we also get charged to remove it?
So this contract is specifically for, that's a great question that I will defer to somebody else on for later, but this contract specifically is for heating systems. So in a boiler room, if we need to reach like a king valve that's 30 feet in the air, we need to erect the scaffolding. And then if we put a mobile boiler, the barrier skirt system is something that has to go around. If you ever see a mobile boiler, there's a barrier underneath the trailer so that people can't mess with the mobile boiler and the tires and get into the infrastructure underneath. That's what this contract is specifically for. But that kind of, I know what you're thinking, exterior scaffolding, this is
Yes,
interior.
I'll address them at a later time,
Yeah.
at the same time, thank you.
No problem,
Okay, no other questions? Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
These are items 11 through 17.
Hi, good morning, board members and others gathered here. My name is Cesar Gonzalez, Vice President for Public Housing Operations for Queens and Staten Island. Today I will be presenting 7 items for your consideration. Items 11, 12, and 13 seeks authorization to award 3 requirement contracts in an amount not to exceed $1,290,696 for each to the lowest responsible bidder to Somero Services, Inc. These will be a 3-year contract with 1-year renewal option at the authority's sole discretion. This requirement contract provides for repair, alteration, and installation of range hood fire suppression systems for various developments in the boroughs of the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, as required, ensuring proper operation and compliance with local codes and regulations and manufacturer's instructions. The vendor has indicated that Section 3 total projected labor hours is 525.
Okay, and each contract is for a different borough, right?
Yep.
No questions? Proceed.
The only question I have, is there capacity in this firm to do the three? I know we were looking to have different vendors by virtue of having three different contracts bid. Are we confident in their capacity?
They stated that they had capacity to do the work, so.
And they've done before with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Items number 14, seeks authorization to ratify the award of this contract between the authority and Cooling Guard Mechanical Corp. For preventive maintenance and repair replacement of HVAC systems and parts not to exceed the amount of $1,111,428.59. This will be a 2-year contract with 3 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's discretion. This requirement contract provides for preventive maintenance and repair replacement of HVAC system and parts at various developments and PSAs citywide. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, furnishing of labor, materials, equipment, tools, licenses, and permits necessary to perform preventive maintenance and repair and replacement of HVAC systems and parts. The vendor has indicated in Section 3 total projected labor hours of 625.
Okay, and these are for certain police service areas throughout the city, correct?
Yes.
No questions, proceed.
Items number 15, seeking authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to emergency IDIQ agreement with Richards Plumbing and Heating Co. for plumbing services not to exceed the amount of $4,095,000 in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 2-year term and 1-year renewal option term, which commenced on February 1st, 2022, is continuing through January 31st, 2025. This emergency IDIQ agreement provides for plumbing services. The scope includes, but is not limited to, furnishing all labor, material, equipment, insurance, and incidentals to perform tasks related to the field of plumbing, which includes repair and installation of piping systems, including water, waste, gas, and heating, plumbing fixtures and gas disconnections and reconnections of gas-fired appliances on a needed basis for various developments in Brooklyn. The vendor has indicated Section 3 total projected labor hours is 1,875.
Okay, thanks, proceed.
Items number 16 is seeking authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to this requirement contract awarded to Simco Enterprises Corp. for general welding not to exceed the amount of $1,520,363.66 in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the year, 1-year renewal option term, which commenced on October 30th, 2022, and is continuing through October 29th of 2023. This requirement contract provides for general welding. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, furnishing of labor, supervision, materials, equipment, tools, and insurance required to perform general welding for various developments in Manhattan. The vendor has indicated that the Section 3 hiring plans that it intends to hire 1 welder.
Sorry, I apologize for not remembering this. They need to hire 1 welder can you explain the labor plan a little bit more?
It's 1 hires because it's before the commencement of the new labor hours, which was actually 1 month later.
Got it, so it's similar to the other question
Yeah.
before. Got it, thank you.
Okay.
Item 17, seeking authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to this emergency IDIQ agreement with Quality Facility Solutions Corp. for janitorial and maintenance services not to exceed $3,996,000 in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 2-year term with 1-year renewal option term, which commenced on January 3rd, 2022 and is continuing through January 2nd, 2025. This emergency IDIQ agreement provides for janitorial and maintenance services. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, furnishing of labor, material, equipment, tools, insurance, and incidentals required to perform tasks related to, which include sweeping and mopping of buildings, lobbies, halls, and staircases, cleaning of walkways and grounds around buildings for various developments in the Bronx. The vendor has indicated that Section 3 projected total labor hours is 6,250.
No questions? Thank you, Caesar.
Thank you.
Item 18, Julian.
Good morning, my name is Jillian Connell and I'm the Managing Director of Strategic Operations in the Real Estate Development Department. And today I'm presenting resolution number 18, which seeks authorization to award a contract to STV Incorporated for independent mold analysis based on the PACT Bias Settlement Agreement in an amount not to exceed $5,626,936.52. In terms of background, the Bias litigation was a 2013 class action lawsuit filed to compel the authority to address persistent mold and leak issues in NYCHA's buildings. A 2018 revised consent decree established NYCHA's current standard procedures for the treatment of and remediation of the root cause of mold and excessive moisture within buildings owned and managed by NYCHA. In April 2021, after finding that the revised consent decree did not protect residents which underwent the PACT program conversion, the court directed NYCHA and the plaintiffs to draft an agreement that includes these residents as part of the bias class. NYCHA entered into that settlement agreement with the bias plaintiffs on December 20th, 2021 to ensure that residents in PACT properties are afforded protections aligned with the intent of the original decree. So to comply with this settlement agreement, NYCHA intends to enter into a contract with STV Incorporated to provide these independent mold analyst services for PACT development. So the scope includes coordination of pre-conversion mold and leak planning meetings, the review of mold and leak operations and maintenance plans, post-completion quality assurance and spot check inspections, monthly production and distribution of the PACT IMA report, participation in meetings and discussions, and general coordination and records management. The contract is expected to commence by June 1st, 2023, and continue for 1 year with 4 consecutive renewal options. STV provided a Section 3 plan to NYCHA, and the Section 3 total projected labor hours is 1,500. So in conclusion, we're requesting authorization to enter into this contract with STV Incorporated based on the terms that we just described, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
So if you, for the good of everyone, just state why the developer is not paying.
Yep, so that came up in the Q&A sessions, and at the time that the services were initiated, it was determined that NYCHA would be responsible for the contracting and funding. Many of the projects at the time that the agreement was put in place had already closed, and there weren't provisions, already established for them to provide this funding. And it was in the same week that the agreement was executed that a number of other PACT projects closed, and the financial terms for those had already been set.
And going forward?
So going forward, we would have to do additional analysis to sort of determine exactly what that could look like, but we are happy to do that analysis.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I will formulate the same question I have for Mr. Green with Madam Secretary as to the length of time it takes for the abatement and the follow-up on the mold.
Okay, do you want to follow up on that separately, or is there?
No, I'm gonna just
Okay.
put it all in
Got
one
it.
question
Okay.
regarding both your
Sure.
number and his.
Sure, we have that information so we can share it with you.
Okay, no other questions, thank you, Julian. Items 19 through 21, Joy. Oh. Item 19.
Good morning, board member. My name is Mariam Youssef. I'm the Capital Planning and Administration Director at the Asset and Capital Management Division. And today I'm presenting to you board item number 19. We are requesting your authorization to enter an IDIQ agreement with Arcadis for cost estimating and consulting services. Arcadis will support the authority's Asset and Capital Management Division cost estimating unit. The scope of work will include providing consulting, architectural and engineering estimating review in various project phases, starting from the budget estimate to different design phases estimates. Also including change order estimates and bid estimates, bid life analysis and whole life cycle analysis, late claim settlement services, benchmarking estimating services, soft cost estimating services, cost impact estimating services for risk measuring, staff augmentation services as needed as well. This contract duration is a 3-year contract, which will start in February 24, 2023, and continue through February 23, 2026, plus a 2-year renewal option. The total value of the contract not to exceed $4,955,717, with a guaranteed minimum of $250,000. For Section 3, Arcadis will offer other economic opportunities by providing career path forward guidance on how to become a cost estimator. They will also provide training in how to obtain the required education and certification. Thank you, board member. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
There are none, thank you so much. Items 20 and 21.
Hi, I'm Joyce Ingerbrand, Senior Vice President for Capital Programs, and I have 2 items today. The first, item 20, seeks authorization to award a contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Grounded Environmental LLC, for basement slab and plumbing repairs at Amsterdam houses in the amount of $8,796,140. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, emergency repair of basement slabs, walls, an exterior retaining wall, and plumbing at 3 of the 13 buildings at the development. The contract term duration is for 9 months and 27 days, and of the 10,500 total estimated labor hours, 25% are estimated to be Section 3, which is about 2,600 hours. Any questions? Item 21 seeks authorization to amend Board Resolution 21-12/29. I'm not sure how to say this. Which authorized a contract capacity increase to an IDIQ contractor for general construction citywide. Upon further review of the contract, it was revealed that the initial 2-year term was erroneously stated on the original board resolution as October 27th, 2020 through October 26th, 2022, instead of October 26th, 2020 through October 25th, 2022. Therefore, we're requesting authorization to amend the board resolution to accurately reflect the initial 2-year term as it appears on the executed IDIQ doc.
Okay, there are no questions. Thank you, Troy. Chair, 21 items were presented for board approval. May I have a motion to approve the 21 items?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, thank you. Chair being that, excuse me?
Point I wanna make, did you get the approval?
I did get the approval, I'm about to adjourn. Did you
Okay,
wanna
yeah, I wanted
say
to say
something?
yeah.
Okay.
So earlier, Lisa went through the accomplishments for 2022 fast and competently, but I just wanted to congratulate and thank the staff. All that's behind those list of accomplishments is extraordinary, and I am particularly really excited about how we went about the legislator appeal on the E-ramp. I thought that was excellent, compelling, and the equity argument I thought was likewise compelling. But I just did want to make the point about what I know has to happen to make those things occur. So I just want to thank the staff, recognize the staff, and encourage us to do even more this year, so thank you.
I have something as well. I will compose the question to your office with regards to resolution 6 and 18.
Okay,
I'm
noted.
approving it, I'm going with it. I just have further questions.
Okay, noted, send it to my attention and my office, and we'll get it to the correct individuals. Thank you so much, thank you. Chair, being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Seconded by
Austin?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, thank you so much. The recorded end time for this meeting is 11:06 a.m. Thank you all. The next NYCHA board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 30th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in person, same place. See you then. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.